Sleepy seaside towns, panoramic coastal views, and tranquil islands. This is a side of Hiroshima Prefecture that most travelers miss, but which makes the perfect setting for a coastal getaway in Japan. So join me as I go on a 3-day trip exploring the seaside towns of Hiroshima Prefecture. Hiroshima sits next to the Seto Inland Sea, Japan's largest inland sea, which lies between Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. On day 1, I'll start by visiting a unique Zen temple before staying overnight in the laid-back port town of Tomonoura. On day 2, I'll travel west to Onomichi for some shopping and a temple walk. Finally, on day 3, I'll trade public transport for a bicycle as I set out on one of Japan's best-known cycling routes, the Shimanami Kaido. Various rail passes are available, which are useful when traveling widely in the Seto Inland Sea region. Some handy passes include the Seto Uchi Area Pass, Kansai Hiroshima Area Pass, and several other passes. Day 1. To start the trip, I'll catch the Shinkansen from Osaka to Fukuyama. Here, I'll pick up a rental car to visit the less accessible Shinshoji Temple, and then make my way to Tomonoura for an afternoon stroll visiting the port town's waterfront and traditional liquor store. Finally, I'll have dinner and stay overnight in one of Tomonoura's beautiful seaside inns. This is a Buddhist temple designed for ordinary folks to immerse themselves in Zen, and visitors can also see seasonal foliage in the temple garden. Stopping at one of the 2 dining places in the temple grounds, something I'm particularly excited to try is Shinshoji udon, the only item on the menu here. Part of Zen training is to make as little noise as possible, and I'm going to try to lay out my cutlery as quietly as I can. But there are 3 occasions when sound is permitted: when reading the sutra, when using the wooden clappers, and when eating udon. Shinshoji udon is longer and fatter than usual udon, as are the chopsticks, which, if needed, can replace the wooden clappers that the monks use during sutra reading. Leaving Shinshoji, I drive to my first coastal stop of the trip. Tomonoura is a quaint seaside town that you may recognize from famous movies such as The Wolverine and Studio Ghibli's Ponyo. In years gone by, the town was a major bustling port on the Seto Inland Sea, and today it is one of the most picturesque port towns in Japan. With sailors relying on the wind and the powerful tides of the Seto Inland Sea, Tomonoura became the perfect stopover to wait for favorable conditions, even earning it the nickname the Port of Waiting Tides. Walking along the waterfront, Old features such as the lighthouse and pier are interesting reminders of the town's past. A bustling port town means thriving industries, and one of those unique to Tomonoura is the production of homeshu. Homeshu is a traditional medicinal liqueur that is made with 16 different kinds of herbs. Now, there are 4 homeshu makers in Tomonoura, and the homeshu made by each company is said to taste slightly different. I'm at Irie Toyosaburo, and I'm gonna try their homeshu. Wow! You can still taste the alcohol, but it's actually sweeter than I thought. There's nothing better than finishing off a relaxing day of sightseeing with a stay at a Japanese inn. As I enter Migiwatei Ochi, I'm transported into a quiet haven. Before heading to dinner, I can choose to wash off the day's travels at one of the inn's 3 private baths, or the onsen in my room. Then, it's happy hour, so I can't resist getting a complimentary drink from the bar. For dinner tonight, I'm having a multi-course Japanese meal with an emphasis on local Hiroshima ingredients. Each course features seafood prepared in different ways. Hiroshima is known for its oysters, and for the grilled course, I've got Hiroshima oysters prepared in 2 ways: sautéed in butter and deep fried. Itadakimasu! Then it was time to enjoy the full moon from my room terrace. Oyasumi. Day 2. Today, I'm swapping the sleepy atmosphere of Tomonoura for its more lively neighbor, the town of Onomichi. After checking out, I drive back to Fukuyama Station, drop off the rental car, and take the local train to Onomichi. Here, I'll first visit the Onomichi Hondori shopping arcade before heading up the ropeway to Senkoji Park for beautiful views of the area. To finish off the day, I'll take a stroll along Onomichi's temple walk, then check into my accommodation, Hotel Cycle. Much like Tomonoura, the quaint port town of Onomichi sits alongside the Seto Inland Sea. However, 2 features that set it apart are its many slopes dotted with temples and its position at the start of Japan's premier cycling route, the Shimanami Kaido. I'll be jumping on a bicycle tomorrow, but for today, the best way to take in Onomichi's retro streets and coastal views is on foot. To start my stroll, just across from the station, I'll be heading into Onomichi's shopping arcades. There are around 210 stores lining the streets, with some established over 100 years ago. Now let's go shop local. I stop at the local store Onomichi Hampu, where the main product is canvas bags. Canvas used to be produced in large quantities in the town to create sails for the many trading vessels passing through. In a fund preservation of these routes, the one remaining canvas factory now makes luggage items. In the store's workspace, visitors can even see the machine that was once used to weave the fabric. About halfway along the shopping arcade, I turn up the hill and make a detour to one of the town's tucked-away gems. This tea shop offers organic tea that is grown in Hiroshima Prefecture as well as around Japan. And you get a tea brewing lesson with your order. I've got tea that was grown about an hour from here, and I'm gonna try it. Wow, this tea is really light, but the aftertaste has a pretty strong green tea flavor to it. After a quick taste of Onomichi's views from the tea house, I set off to see more from Senkoji Park. As it sits atop a tall hill, I plan to save my energy for now and ride the ropeway to the top. To finish out my day of sightseeing, I head down the hill on foot to start Onomichi's temple walk. Despite its small size, the town is home to numerous temples, and the walk, a major attraction in Onomichi, takes you past 25 of them. I'll be doing just part of the walk today, which should take a couple of hours at most. Not too far below Senkoji Park, the temple walk turns into a cat alley. For a couple hundred meters, you meander down this eccentric slope passing by many cat statues, and if you're lucky, maybe even some real cats. My last stop on the walk today is Setoda Temple. Founded in the 600s, it is said to be one of the oldest temples in this region. The main hall and pagoda look particularly radiant in the soft afternoon light. Today, I'm staying at the aptly named Hotel Cycle. For travelers like me who will be trying the Shimanami Kaido cycling route, this modern hotel is well located right near the starting point. Tucked inside a converted warehouse, the hotel is one part of the Onomichi U2 facility containing shops, cafes, and a store where you can rent bicycles on the day or the night before. If you have your own bike, you can also store it in your room. I'm gonna have an early night before my big day of cycling tomorrow, so oyasumi and see you in the morning. Day 3. To start my day, I pick up a bicycle from the rental terminal near my hotel. One of 3 road connections between the islands of Honshu and Shikoku, the Shimanami Kaido stretches for 70 kilometers from Onomichi to Imabari, passing over 6 islands. Bicycle terminals are dotted along the course, allowing travelers to pick up and drop off their rentals along the way. While the entire course can be completed in one day, I'll be focusing on just the first half. From Onomichi, I'll catch a ferry to the first island where I'll start the tour. Hugging the coastline, I'll hop across the first 3 islands, stopping for food and sightseeing along the way before returning my bike in Setoda Port and catching the ferry back to Onomichi. I've got a battery-operated bicycle for a little bit of extra help over the hills. I've had a great sleep, it's a beautiful day, and let's get started. There are a couple of ferries that connect Onomichi to the first island of Mukaishima. I'm catching the smallest, which ferries walking passengers and cyclists. Taking only 5 minutes, it's a fun and convenient start to the cycling route. It's not difficult to figure out the cycling route because all you have to do is to follow the blue line. Leaving the island of Mukaishima behind, I cycle onto the first bridge of the route, an impressive structure offering beautiful views of the island scenery. After cycling for a couple of hours, it's time for a short break, so I stop in at Hakko Park, a garden and cafe complex owned by a company that uses fermentation to make health foods and more. The facilities of Hakko Park extend all the way to the waterfront, and they also have a free footbath that I'm now enjoying with this view. Moving on to the third and final island for my trip, I make my way along the coast to the Setoda Port area. An interesting attraction here is the unique and colourful Kousanji Temple. Founded relatively recently in the 1930s by a successful businessman for his mother, the temple complex gives a strong feeling of déjà vu, as many of the structures here are modelled after some of Japan's most famous temple buildings. Particularly impressive are copies of Nikko Toshogu's Yomeimon Gate and Byodoin's Phoenix Hall. Continuing further through the temple grounds, I reached the Hill of Hope, an area made entirely of marble with beautiful views over the island and bay beyond. After all that cycling and sightseeing, it's time to wind down and get ready to return to Onomichi. I drop off my bike at the rental terminal in Setoda and make my way on foot through the main shopping street in town. Lined with cute cafes, shops, and a local bathhouse, the street makes a nice spot to stop for a break. For me, though, I continue to the ferry terminal, appreciating the idyllic island scenery as the sun begins to set on this trip. Thanks for joining me on this 3-day trip exploring Hiroshima's seaside towns. For more information about this trip, check out our article over on japanguide.com. Or to watch more content about Japan, check out one of our other videos here. Happy travels!